I discovered something about myself recently that I did not know. I discovered that I am a workaholic. Haven't always been a workaholic. I think it's much easier to be a workaholic when you love your job, which I do. But before this, when I had a proper job and I worked in an office Monday to Friday, I was not a workaholic. I was very happy at 5 o'clock to go, bye, fuck the lot of you. But I read an article about workaholics by a man called Oliver Berkman, and he said people are workaholics for one of two reasons. Either they're hiding away from something at home, or they have nothing else going on in their lives. And I realised quite sadly that I fell into the latter category. I had my job, but I didn't really do or have anything else. One of the remedies he suggested to fix this, he said, actively create meaning elsewhere. And that's what I decided to do over the last 12 months, and that is what my show is about. Now, the first thing I decided to do, I decided to buy a house. I'd lived in the same rented city centre flat in Manchester for the last 6 years, and I really wanted somewhere, I wanted a house, I wanted to settle down. I wanted a house mostly because I'd lived in flats for 16 years, and I really missed going upstairs to bed. Not through the fucking kitchen. Upstairs to bed. But I was sitting only a few weeks ago, quite smugly, upstairs in bed, thinking, this is the life, I've arrived, I'm upstairs in bed. And then I thought, shit, now I've got to go downstairs for food. But what I wanted was somewhere that makes me feel the same way my parents' house makes me feel. They've lived in the same house since they got married 47 years ago. Exactly, and this is what I wanted. I wanted somewhere that I could build memory after memory after memory. Now, I was there sort of late summer last year with my sister, the four of us just sitting around with cups of tea around the kitchen table, putting the world to rights. It was lovely. And at the exact same moment, my sister and I both heard the ice cream man. And it was like no time had passed. No words were exchanged between my sister and I. She shot me a look that said, do you want one? And I shot back a look that said, of course I fucking do. She picked up her purse and she ran out of the house. When she came back in, she told me there'd be no children anywhere near the ice cream man, just a 44-year-old woman running towards it. He'd started to pull away, she had to flag him down. And as she flagged him down, he shouted out of the window, come on, missus, you can do it. She came back in with 3 ice creams, one for me, one for her, and one for me dad, because my mum doesn't really like sweet things. And she said, where's dad gone? Because my dad was no longer in the room. I said, he's gone to the toilet. Now, I don't know what your dads are like, but my dad can lose a good 20 minutes, half an hour in there. So she started to sort of lick her ice cream and kind of tidy his, do you know what I mean? Licking hers normally, but then spinning this one round. She was like a fucking machine, licking and tidying, licking and tidying, licking and tidying. This one started to get quite small, and I said, oh, that's not fair on Dad. And she said, well, what do you want me to do about it? I said, I think you should take it to him while he's on the toilet. And she said, well, if I'm going, you're coming with us. So we go upstairs together. Mum and Dad's toilet is separate from their bathroom. And I said to my sister, before you go any further, you must promise me one thing. She said, what's that? I said, you must promise me that when you open that door, you keep your eyes tight shut, because you will never be able to unsee what you are about to say. She promised. She knocked on the door. My dad said, come in, like it was an office. And with her eyes tight shut, she opened the door and handed in an ice cream. And my dad said, I cannot take that. And we thought, quite rightly, because eating ice cream while you're doing this shit is disgusting, isn't it? But my dad said, I'm reading the paper, my hands are full.